Okay, Adam, let's take a look at your swings from the other day. You made some pretty remarkable changes to your impact position, and I just kind of want to recap that those changes with you. Obviously, the video on the left is before we worked on anything, and then after some of those changes that we implemented was on the right. Noticing your setup, I want you to notice how on the right we've got your stance just a little bit wider, and we've also got your feet flared out a little bit more. This just helps stabilize you a little bit, and it also cuts down on the amount that your body sort of sways to the right in the backswing. If you remember my description of controlling the low point and controlling the bottom of that swing arc, that all kind of revolves around keeping this axis, this upper and lower axis, stable throughout the golf swing. So we want as minimal amount of weight shift to the right as possible. Taking a look at the swing on the left here, as the club moves away, you can see the head kind of drifting to the right just a little bit there at the start. No wrist cock whatsoever at this point. The left wrist should already be slightly cocked to probably about here, so that when we reach left arm parallel to the ground, we should be at about a full 90 degrees or even slightly more wrist cocked here. And we talked a lot about that, and you had even admitted that you're a late loader of that power accumulator. But for right now, it's not necessarily something that we have to focus on. I'm more concerned about some of the other things. Here we are all the way to the top of your backswing, and right there. So this is kind of a big deal. Number one, we haven't extended our spine at all in the backswing. We've just sort of turned our shoulders and allowed our hips to turn. And you also have a little bit of an overswing because you're allowing this left arm to sort of bend and separate and break here. And that left arm radius is vital in controlling the low point of the golf swing. On the right, sort of a feeling that I wanted you to have is that in the backswing that you felt like you were turning your shoulder a little steeper, a little more left shoulder down as the right knee straightens and the left knee flex. And what that was going to do is keep your weight a little bit more forward in the takeaway. And you can see here as you move to the top, much more wrist hinge. Here you are at the top of your backswing, well short of the position here on the left, because that left arm has stayed much, much straighter. You've also kept more of your weight here on your left side, which is one of the reasons why you're able to hit the ball so solidly during this session. The big thing for you was how these accumulators were releasing out of sequence. And a word that you described was the wrist angles, casting or flipping. Some people call it throwaway, whatever. But what we're talking about is the angle that's formed between the shaft and the left arm. And if we kind of compare these two positions at P5, which is the left arm parallel to the ground, I want you to take a huge look at the difference in these positions. First of all, the amount of angle between the left arm and shaft is very, very similar. But what the lower body is doing is completely different. Your weight is more forward. You're initiating the downswing by really, really pressing this left knee and this hip into the ground and forward, sliding those hips forward. That is allowing the accumulators to release in the proper sequence, whereas on the left, the club from this point, the angle is starting to dump. And you can see that about right here, we now have the left arm pretty much in line with the shaft. And we haven't even gotten to the golf ball yet. Part of this is because your swing became very rotary. Your hips stopped pushing forward. There was no extending, jumping and extending through impact. And you did it much, much better here on the right. So if you'll notice, your hips will continue to push forward. Another thing, let me back up just one second. An emphasis that I had for you was the checkpoint of left arm parallel to the ground. One thing that I wanted you to take note of was your belt line. Okay, and let's say that's let's say that right there is the belt line. I wanted you to have an emphasis of from here all the way through the swing, feeling like that belt line was raising, and you were raising your belt line and pointing your belt toward the target in this fashion. Well, you can see that on the left, that belt line definitely did not raise, but on the right, probably about right there, the belt line is significantly raising through the hit. You can see that it definitely lost flexion in your knees at a much faster rate on the right than you did on the left. And again, here's the impact positions for you to compare. Completely different releasing of the accumulators here. Got much more forward shaft lean on the right, got a nice flat left wrist. If you look at where your hands are in relation to your the center of your pelvis, they're on the left side of your say your zipper, whereas on the right or on the picture on the left, they're releasing behind you. This is the simple and sole reason why you hit the ball so high. We were unable to control the amount of dynamic loft before, but now you're on the right track. You know, I think you fully grasp the importance of keeping that handle forward and feeling like that handle, the handle of the club is just sort of raising through impact with straight arms. As you take your belt buckle, turn and raise and extend your spine into the follow through. All right, Adam, in closing, here's the drill that I want you to do to work on to get the feeling of keeping the handle forward and extending your spine in the follow-through. This player on the left here is actually starting in this position. I don't have it paused here. This is his start position, sort of left arm parallel to the ground, and I'm going to play it through for you just so you can see it. He sort of presses into his left leg, the hips start to push forward, the lower body loses its flexion, the pelvis extends, and the arms stay straight in the follow-through. So he's actually hitting shots from this drill. And this is obviously not at full speed, probably 20 or 30 or 40, even 40% max full speed here. But it's just learning to feel the pelvis and the belt line raise. Oops. There's his belt line. Extending. Belt line is significantly higher in the follow-through. The arms are straight, and you can see the curvature in the back. That's an indicator that the spine has extended. And you know, if you compare yours here on the right from about that same position, much better by you, but right here. At this point, about right here, your belt buckle stops pushing forward and stops raising, and your spine stops extending, and you just sort of roll up onto your right toe, and then you pop up out of your inclination. So you can see the difference between you and the player on the left. The player on the left is still in a rightward tilt. He's still tilted to the right, whereas you have completely released your tilts, and now you're very vertical. Anyways, buddy, I hope this helps you. And give me a call if you have any questions.